This week's episode is sponsored by Retro Rockstar Custom Print Shop and Design. Music inspired designs based in St John's Market, Liverpool. Open 6 days a week and also online. Please give them a follow. Thank you. Hello everybody, welcome to the Billy Moore podcast, and today's special guest is none other than Andy Tutte, and Andy's got a really interesting story. And do you want to tell us about it, Andy?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. Like it's a privilege. I've known you for many years now. Yeah. So I was like, I thought, oh my God, he's asked me to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's like, anyway, we've got that out of the way. Yeah, we start from the off, I suppose. I grew up in South Liverpool, in what you'd argue was a privileged area. It was in Walton, do you know what I mean? And the family life was good, do you know what I mean? It wasn't a tough upbringing or nothing like that, really. We went on holiday, had good times. I've got two younger sisters. Home life was all right. I suppose, like, I started hitting some challenges, me, as a teenager, which, a lot of us do. I was always wanting to be something else, you know what I mean? Trying to find an identity. I'd seek out, like, peer groups that were older than me who had a bit about them. I mean, usually around criminality, that attracted me, you know what I mean? But I like, looking at it now, I was never going to reach that, you know what I mean? I wasn't about that, but I suppose that was what led me into addiction, I suppose, you know what I mean? And I started experimenting at a young age.
So what age was you?
Well, I remember, like, I was thinking about it today, knowing you were coming, and 13, there was a lad who had weed in school, selling 50 pence for a Red Star Leb, it was called. I don't know whether you remember it, but he sold us this rolled joint, this kid who was about 3 years old, and there could have been fucking anything in it, do you know what I mean? But me and my mate, like, went halves, 25 pence each, and had it after school, do you know what I mean? And I vaguely remember it, like, it changed the way I felt, do you know what I mean? And I thought, wow, that's fucking great. And school was all right for me. I went to Ilford. You're from down this end, it's a housing estate there now, it's in Hunts Cross, and it was an all boys school. And we used to, like, it was on, like, it backed onto, like, Walton Golf Course, do you know what I mean? And you could pick mushies on Walton Golf Course. And we used to go dinner time, pick mushies, eat them, and go back into school, tripping, do you know what I mean? And it made school a bit more interesting. But I didn't really, like, I'm not a stupid fella, I wasn't a stupid kid, like, kind of intelligent.
Just experimenting. I mean, I had to see, I was thinking about it just then, and on the way here, like, I enjoyed the experimenting side of things, I really did. Yeah. I'm not going to say I didn't. It was the progression. And it's where it took us, and it's similar to what you're talking about. Your stories, on that line of, like, the progression and all the nice things that make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, and it also, like, I found, like, looking at it over the years, it gives us an identity, I think, Bill, do you know what I mean? It's like, look at him, look at Tutte, he's taking drugs, and, you think it gives you a bit of kudos and a bit of, then I got nicked, and that was even better in my mind, do you know what I mean? These older lads who was trying to fit in with, who were from the South End, basically.
Would accept you a bit more.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, the little posh kid who's been nicked now, he must be all right, and that's what went on.
Is that something that you struggled with growing up? Did you always feel a little bit different because of your status in the area, a little bit posh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's still, like, I'm all right with it now. I'm quite proud of where I'm from, but, like, that's been a common theme because
because it's like, we're talking about, like, for people who are not from Liverpool, the localities, the postcodes are a big thing, aren't they? L8, L5, you've got it, haven't you?
Well, if you're from town, you're a proper Scouser, aren't you?
Scotty roadways.
I think if your L postcode is over, like, 15, you're fucked, aren't you? Really, do you know what I mean?
You're a wool.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that I mean, it was just one of them things, wasn't it? But I don't know. It did. You're talking about the progression, like that. It was a natural thing to do, and you're a similar age to me. Like, we were getting stoned, and then this brown powder on foil come about, And no one knew really. It was just another way of getting stoned, wasn't it? And you could get, like, for a £5, them big envelope bags of heroin with 3 years on.
They always came in wraps back then, didn't they?
Like a fucking, like a bailiff letter, wasn't it? You know what I mean? But like, it just made you feel confident. It made you feel like all that, like, shitty feelings you have as a kid, it didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? And you know, when I was 15, when I first had it with a girl who was 14, so like, it was
it's a young age, isn't it?
It is,
and
like,
you couldn't even imagine anyone at this day and age, at that age,
no, like,
taking that kind of drug, could you?
No,
and it happens still.
It does. Like, you think about your own kids, you'd be mortified, wouldn't you? You know, like, and I wasn't really bothered about my family or any. It just didn't really come into it. You know what I mean? I kind of, it worked for me, and I was chasing it. You know, and from 50, I didn't get addicted to 15. I was probably about 17, to be honest with you, where I was taking it quite regularly, and then committing, like, low-level crimes to get money. And I remember it, like, people were going to Switzerland grafting back then. Like, you know, Liverpool were really good in Europe and all that type of stuff. And there was a group of lads, like, who looked older, were taking credit cards to Switzerland and kiting over there and staying in boss hotels. And I was like, fucking hell, I want to do that. But I looked about fucking 12, do you know what I mean? So it was never going to happen. And then we started, like, travelling in hire cars to kind of down south to London, East Anglia, places like that, and using credit cards. And, you know, it was mad then. Like, I was talking to someone about it the other day, you could take the signature off with brake fluid and then sign it yourself. And there was none of them pin machines then. It was just this scraper thing, sounded all. We had a Ford Iron Guy hire car, that's all there is. So if you stuck under 200 quid, you were laughing, do you know what I mean? It was like, I mean, even if they walked off with the car in the shop, you just run out the shop. So it wasn't...
No big loss back then?
Not really, do you know what I mean?
The risks were, like, pretty low?
Yeah, I think so. For what, you know, what we used to buy was Sega Mega Drives. I don't know, just not...
Well, I remember a Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, well, they were like £195 in Toys R Us, do you know what I mean?
I feel old now listening to you, you know.
I'm fucking older than you, I think.
You are, by the way.
So, but that type, and then ciggies and shops and ale, so it was quick sell. You'd have someone with a little, you know, shop that sold ciggies or whatever, so you'd travel out, come back, and then buy whatever, and then just go and do it the next day, really. But it, you know, I just on that, I had a woman's card for 6 months, right, using this name. It doesn't matter what the name is, but I got nicked doing one transaction, and the whole 6 months come kind of tumbling down, do you know what I mean? Because of the handwriting. And I remember being in the police station, and they were like, you need to sign these bits of paper. So I fucking use my left hand. Like, I can't write my left hand, do you know what I mean? And, like, just trying to do all these mad signatures. But anyway, it all kind of come tumbling down, and that was probably... I've been to prison on remand for things, but then got out. But that was the first sentence I got at 20.
Was you any young offenders at 20? Yeah. You know, what was that experience like going to prison? I'm not a fucking scrapper, do you know what I mean? The way I still manage my life is to be liked and try and make people laugh, and, you know, that type of interaction, really. And when I was in jail... You don't like conflict?
Not at all, like, not at all. It's not...
Well, that's good. Sometimes it's... it can be detrimental, you know. Yeah,
I can't fucking fight, so it doesn't want to work for me, do you know what I mean? But I got sent to prison in Norwich prison. So in my mind, I was like, I'm a fucking Scouser, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, all them Scousers call me a fucking
trying to blend it with your accent.
Exactly, right. And I fucking, like, it wasn't as bad as it was when I was locked up on my own. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't great. I was thinking, what the fuck's this going on here? But I found, like, prison YPs that were there. There was I mean, no disrespect to people from down that way, but they were a bit odd. Do you know what I mean? And I got on all right, like, you know.
I think what it is, I think like the cities were more advanced. Like Manchester, London, Liverpool, Birmingham. In a sense, they were more advanced in their awareness and the street savviness compared to these smaller towns. that's just how it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like, there's a lot of, like, it's not rough Liverpool, but like growing up it's tough growing up, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of like hardened people that you have to learn resilience to dance around that, if you like, you know, as a kid quite quickly. So, you know, it wasn't a great experience. Of course, it wasn't like fucking brown jeans and tobacco tin shoes and all that bollocks. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, but there's some part of my mind where I liked it at that point in my life.
Yeah. And that's probably the problem with most of these young kids today as well, really, innit?
Yeah.
You know, to fit in, they've had to, you know, they've got to have gone to prison or to have done these things that other people have done, to be accepted and to be allowed into a little circle. But it's sad, really, innit?
Definitely. I mean, in my job, I come across that a lot today. Do you know what I mean? And I think the risk is a bit higher with teenagers now because of knife crime and because of gun crime and stuff like that. Really, you know, people. It was a big deal back then if you heard someone who got shot. You know what I mean? Like, it's like in the paper every night now, isn't it? And it's often young people against young people. You know, there's two victims there, isn't it? Really, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky period for all teenagers. But you know, as a lad, it was a challenging period in my life, and drugs kind of made that easier at the time. Do you know what I mean?
So that's what you kind of just you took just to feel.
Yeah, just to forget and switch off and
just to escape.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the feeling, isn't it? If you describe smack feeling, it's fuck it, who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
So when did it start becoming like a problem? I know obviously prison's a problem straight away.
But it wasn't at the time.
Exactly.
Do you see what I'm saying? It wasn't at the time. I think probably I come out, I was away for just over a year. It wasn't a long time. Well, it's long enough, but in comparison to people I've met over the years. And then just started dabbling again. You know, when you're getting out, you're thinking, where's the next one? And then it didn't take that long, really. Probably early 20s, 22, 23, where I started, like, injecting and, you know, kind of getting involved with stuff that wasn't great, really. I mean, I wasn't a horrible criminal. I just fucking shoplifted, to be honest, or come to Liverpool and I'd get an ounce on tick somewhere, take it back down south, make little tenner bags on a mountain bike and think I was fucking Pablo. You know what I mean?
It's just ways and means, weren't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like I've always shared this. You said we do things that we don't want to do. Yeah. You know, and then when we're in this position, it's like, you know, with sound a clearer clarity of mind, we wouldn't have done these things. You know what I mean? And this is like, we can identify this with a lot of people right across the board. You know, so for you to get to that point where, you know, you're just sucking and diving, really, it's kind of, you've developed a habit. Yeah. You know, you're not enjoying it.
Not at all. And then crack come into it as well, which kind of just sends it off the scale, doesn't it, really? I think, you know, heroin addiction's one thing, but both of them together. You found
yourself like homeless as well, haven't you?
I've been, you
so
know.
You've gone from, like, you know, a really good family upbringing to getting involved in addiction, to going to prison, to ending up on the streets. Yeah. You know, that's
heavy.
You know, that's heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I've had, you know, this right leg, I was injecting in my groin at this is really towards the end, and it was either get me in jail, I want to die, or even getting cleaned, and like, it was just like, this is never gonna fucking change, you know what I mean? And I wasn't homeless. I mean, I might have probably been better in a fucking shop doorway. I refer to it as my little skip, do you know what I mean, on Rice Lane. You have to wipe your feet on the way out, you know what I mean? And I always had a script from the doctor just to do what, you know, the morning stuff, and I used to go in fucking Sainsbury's on Rice Lane and rob any type of shit and sell it in pubs, and if I was really fucking brave, I'd fill the trolley up and try and run out with it, do you know what I mean? But my leg, like, started swelling up in the thigh, and I thought, that's not fucking right. So I had like a pigeon leg and a Wayne Rooney leg. It didn't fucking add up, even though I just think I'll just swap fucking sides. But I went to doctors anyway to get this diazepam prescription on my methadone. And I said, can you just have a look at this? And he said, I need to ring an ambulance and you need to go to hospital right now. Do you know what I mean? Because that could develop within 24 hours where we have to amputate your leg. And I ended up in Fazakerley Hospital. for about 2 weeks. They operated that night. It was some DVT blood clot. I don't know. I was not in a place to even absorb what the doctors were telling me at the time. You know, it's quite scary now thinking about it, and has been for many years since I got off drugs. But I was in hospital and I felt safe. Do you know what I mean? Because they were giving me drugs in there, and you know, addicts like me, and I'm sure you can identify with it. We tell them we're using more and we're on more, so they give us more in the hospital. So I was just fucking trolleyed in bed, and then I had one of my mates lived on Sparrow, which is just around the corner I used to use with. And he brought me a bit of gear up, and I was going in the toilet, and in my mind thinking, well, that's a dodgy leg, I'll just use the other side, really. And that's like...
The insanity.
Oh, mate.
No. See, and there's a lot, Andy, there's a lot of this that goes on, and you see it yourself every day, and I see it myself every day, and people who are watching this see it in town, in the city centres. Yeah. You know, homeless people living in shops always, they're just old before the time.
It's very sad.
You know, it is sad. You know, it gets to that stage where you think, you know, can you get any lower? This is like, you go through all that, you're in hospital, can you get any lower? You know, you're running out of shops, you know, you're fucked, you know, you just can't stop. What I mean? Isn't that like, what was it that sort of like changed your mind or give you that like bit of hope that there's a way out?
I know exactly what it is, and there's a little story behind it.
Tell me.
So I was like, I'd been nicked down south a couple of times. I've been to prison down south, and like I said before, like I'm not a fighter, but I've got a gobby Scouse accent. There was a couple of us in Norwich prison quite regularly, so we could I could navigate my way around landings that way. I remember these lads who were a bit mad and all that, and I ended up getting nicked and put in Walton. Right, I ring on the fucking fives. There's 2,000 people like fucking me in Norwich prison, and I was like, wow, this is fucking sketchy in here. I didn't like it, know what I mean? And you'd have to fucking, it was a nightmare, man, like rattling on them fives down the stairs. If you didn't have your fucking shirt on, they'd send you back up again for your dinner. It was just like really, like, I mean, prisons are punishments, I understand that, but that place is like fucking horrendous. Anyway, these probation officers come up to do a report. I mean, I'd only been nicked for handling stolen goods and missing bail, court appointments and shoplifting and stuff like that. So it wasn't, I probably got a sentence, but it wouldn't have been.
But it was all petty crimes.
Yeah, acquisitive stuff, yeah. Anyway, brought these glossy brochures up about this rehab, right, in Oxford it was, right, and I was looking, took it back to Sellaway and sleeping, so I thought, I'll have a look at this. And this fucking gaff had a swimming pool, right, outdoor swimming pool, and beds, and that was me, like, I just thought, I'm fucking going there.
Like a beach, like a holiday abroad.
Like, fucking, when I look at it now, I think beds in there, like, I look like a 1 mil with a wig, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you wouldn't have flicked ciggies at me, let alone chat a girl up, but, yeah, anyway, I got one of them. They were called DTTOs at that time. Went to Liverpool Crown Court and was sent to Oxford. And I got in this place, and it was like a concept house. And I do different stuff now for recovery, but it was my first experience of rehab. Now, I did have a swimming pool, right? I went in the middle of winter, so it was full of fucking mold, you know what I mean? And then it was mad. I was in there for, I don't know, about 15 months probably. But they do these like groups, right? Every Monday and on Monday and Thursday with these groups. And how it worked in there, if you piss me off, right, on a fucking Friday, I'd have to write this piece of paper and put it in a box, and you're like, you fucking grass and cunt, you know what I mean? Can you imagine like what you thought when you got in there? And anyway, the council had opened a group up and say, Andy's got 27 slips today, so we're going to start with you. And then
27 slips against it.
I was doing all right, lad. For fucking leaving that fucking stump in the ashtray or something and not emptying it, or a pube in the bath or something, do you know what I mean? And then like people who were your mates an hour before would fucking volley you with the feet, you know, like just scream and shout at you. The concept of it is you break people down, build them up. And I went through there. You get into it because you're clean. I'm in Oxford, and it was a lovely part of the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was getting to kip, I was eating, I was getting new clothes, putting weight on, feeling pretty good about myself. And then towards the end of it, you've got to get a job before you move on. It's a good idea, the programme, and I've done a bit, I was on a YTS, just going back a little bit, and learned a bit of welding and fabricating when I was younger, so they weren't great, them YTS fucking things, Maggie fucking Thatcher, but there you go. I ended up getting a welding job locally, and they said to people who were in there, if you come in as an alcoholic, you can't drink, but if you're a drug addict, you can, we call it controlled drinking. So I was like, well, that sounds in it, you know, like, you know, I've come in fucking on the crack and on the gear. I'm going to have a nice fucking lager, you know what I mean? Anyway, this is like 1999, so my dress sense at that point, right, was a bright fucking blue Lacoste tracksuit and a pair of fucking Rockport, you know what I mean? So I look like an absolute swat in the middle of Oxford full of students, going in pubs, thinking, what the fuck? Like, pubs were for selling cheese and bacon, you know, in my mind. So it brought all them feelings up, and I was like, what am I going to drink? Like, I'm going to just look at something and just say, let me have that. I tried that for probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks, to be honest.
Not fitting in.
It just, I don't like that environment. It's not me, do you know what I mean?
Standing at bars,
yeah, like
talking
about shit, footy. I mean, I'm sure, you know, I didn't grow up doing that.
It's just different pathways, for different people.
It just wasn't,
you know,
it just felt
it is for some and it isn't for others.
Absolutely. Like,
you're not familiar with it.
No, and I was uncomfortable, do you know what I mean? I didn't know what the fuck to do. Anyway, so I just to wind the story up, I come out of a club about 2 a.m. in this street in Oxford town centre, and there was a lad we just talked about, like, people in town. He was begging in the street, and you know what? I'd been clean from drugs for probably about 15-16 months. And if you want to use, you'll spot an addict in the fog 3 miles away. You've got
your radars on.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So I said to him, "Can you get us anything?" And he was like,
"Well, you're busy."
Yeah. But, do you know what he used though? Lads, I can't be a busy. I'm a scouser, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, he ended up scoring, and I got him something as well at that time. And I went back to his little skip that was very similar to mine in Oxford, a bit posher, do you know what I mean? Because it was Oxford to the Rice Lane skip. And I was having the first pipe, I'd like telling him he needed to get his head together. Do you know what I mean? So
you're using and selling him to get his shit together.
Because he had new rock balls on, man. Do you know what I mean?
That's just the insanity, though, isn't it?
Fucking nuts. And that got a lot worse. Then at 9 months in Oxford, I attempted suicide on a number of occasions. Went over, really using to die, really. I'd got my daughter back in my life, who was 8 or 9 at the time, my oldest kid. My family had been to rehab, seeing me getting clean. It was fucking horrendous, do you know what I mean? And it was, but that last bit was really fucking dire. And luckily I got nicked again, went to a place, Bullingdon prison, just outside Oxford. Spent 4 weeks in there, and they sent me off to fucking rehab in Bristol, and that's where I met you, lad.
Yeah, that's where we mean you.
2002.
No, I was there. I went there
a little bit after.
Yeah, you're a few years ahead of me when I got there. I got to that rehab, and I'd never seen you in addiction. No. I'd never met you in addiction.
I don't think I'd have gone fucking near you in addiction, to be honest, Billy.
But we did meet, and you know, we had a few good times up there, didn't we?
Bristol was good to me. I was good to us, wasn't it? Yeah. Like that rehab changed me fucking whole perception. It was a madhouse. It was like a criminal justice rehab for Manx, Scousers and Cockneys, basically. Yeah. So you can imagine what the fuck.
Well, that was my first experience of a rehab, and I went in, and it was groups, and I went in with a prison bag with an Algerian vest hanging out of it. I had a skinhead. I had a bright green Lacoste tracksuit top on.
Matching trackies, lad.
I had a pair of blue Lacoste tracksuit bottoms with pop veins in it. And a pair of Bears Reebok trainers. I can't remember what he had on my feet. I was just fucking goosed. And I bounced in with that street mentality. Yeah. I remember street mentality. Just be with you. What's happening? And it wasn't a concept. It was a different recovery pathway. Yeah. And it worked for me. And it worked for a lot of people. For a lot of people. Do you know? And you know what's good, right? And it's like I remember when we met. You know, I've stayed in your flat up there, you know what I mean? And You've done, you know, what about that time that we had that?
Oh, here we go. Go on. Oh, go on. What are you going to talk about?
Oh no, we'll leave that one for another time. So anyway, so Bristol, was that kind of to you?
Yeah, I liked. I think Bristol's quite similar in many. It's got a shameful historic past as Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? But I enjoyed my time there. It was difficult for me in Bristol because there was lots of people in recovery going for coffees, going for meals, and I struggled with that stuff. I'd lost all kind of the human fucking natural things to do, like what meals you like. That I'd struggled with interacting. I felt like I had to apologise for every person I come across. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you probably like the similar to me, but you were like way ahead of me back then, and for me it was like I didn't know what to order, what to wear.
It was hard.
You know, it was different. And at them days with and I'm going back like what 15 years, 16 years ago, and it was a struggle.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I was self-obsessed. I mean, for anyone who's been in addiction for years or contemplating getting into recovery, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted. But if you stick with it, you know, you'll reap the rewards at the end of it. I remember like going to a convention. That's right, we went to a convention and you had a couple of girls and you're all chatting away, and I just felt like I didn't fit in. You know what I mean? I felt like I was like on the outside and an observer. And you know when you feel that way, you just don't know about to relate or to interact. There's nothing relatable about me. No. You know what I mean? There's nothing. I couldn't identify. I couldn't relate. I couldn't. Everyone had been on holidays and I'd been there and I've just been to jail.
Well, that's the difficulty. I really get that. The difficulty when you get clean, you've got not, and even with people in similar situations, it's difficult. But when you start stepping out into life, if you like, it's fucking even more graft because you don't know what you can't like. The conversation when we use is he's a grass, only numbers is Bosky, you know, he's
and
on.
And the only feelings I ever felt, right, was anger and relief. Anger that he didn't turn up on time or he was late or whatever, and there was relief when he was there. I was going to kill him. You know, where is he? I'm going to kill him. And then he turns up and he's your best mate. See, all I ever knew, like when I was in the likes of Bristol and that in the early days, was how to fight. Yeah. And I remember going into it, you were there.
I was there.
I remember going into a sauna one day. And this Moroccan fella just come out of the steam with a pair of red speedos on, asking me could I box, and I said yeah. You know what I mean? He said, you want to fight? And I said yeah. I didn't know what else to say. You know what I mean? I didn't want to sound like a coward. He said, I'll meet you on Sunday. And I think I told one lad on the next episode.
Yeah, I was there. John was there, and a Cockney fella called Tom. Remember Tommy?
Yeah, what was your thoughts on that? Because it was like
I fucking I knew you a little bit. Yeah. I'd heard you anyway. Yeah. You were quite well known in that circle back home. Do you know what I mean? And we went up, and I knew bits about you boxed when you were little. So to be honest, I just wanted to go and watch. It was a Sunday. I'd fucking all to do, and you nearly took his fucking head off. We ended up right in this like. It was a basketball court, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a boxing ring.
It was a fucking basketball court on this estate in Bristol. And
he had his mate with him, didn't he? Remember that?
Yeah, like, it was fucking surreal, to be honest with you, but you soon let him know, didn't you, quite quickly that you...
And you know what happened? I think that was just out of fear as well, you know what I mean? Because I thought...
Know, lads, you have got a bit of buy with boxing gloves on.
Yeah,
but I'm not a boxer,
but I was a bit younger back then as well. You know what I mean? So.
You did.
But that's the kind of like the lifestyle that I was used to, and it was frowned upon as well. You know, by like,
what do you mean?
By like people who were in recovery or people who were in like the counsellors and stuff like that. Look, you need to change. And I remember getting someone saying to me, "You need to change one thing, Bill." And I went, "What's that?" He went, "Everything." You know, stuff like that.
It can mess your head up a bit.
Yeah, you know, you're there like this. You know, you go to these rehabs and people go, you're fixing yourself on your feelings. You're like, oh, mate, you know what? You aren't driving me down a bend. I bought a coat once. Some bear, man, you're fixing yourself on that coat. I said, girl, it's fucking freezing. It's winter.
No, it's winter, yeah.
What's wrong with you? I'm walking around in a t-shirt here. So it was quite confusing.
Yeah,
so, I mean, we had all that same kind of like, that experience. So it is a journey. When you say it's a journey, you don't mean it's like it's going to be smooth.
No, well, life isn't smooth.
And I get it. Like I was talking to Lee Butler the other week, and we were talking about different recovery pathways.
Yeah.
And, you know, how it affects you mentally. And it does. It does.
Yeah, and what, you know, we do this. We've got the same recovery journey, and it's where it's an individual thing. I think, like, I also think addiction and drug use is an individual. Not everyone likes downers. Some people like uppers. Some people like ale. Some people like coke. You know, so not one model is going to fit everyone. Do you know what I mean? But in them early days, you're like, no, you've got to fucking go do this and do that and you know, it's work for us, but you know, and it's where to go if you're struggling. It is where to go. What we do, but there's lots of other people who find other pathways in terms of breaking out of addiction, I think. And it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as it achieves an outcome that you stop destroying you and your family and everyone around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, see, right when I met you up there, it was like, we you know, I think it was about a year, 18 months tops that, you know, we were in that same circle, and then we parted company. You know, I ended up in Thailand, and you ended up doing what you needed to do. So what happened with your journey? Where did it go from there? You obviously never stayed in Bristol.
No, well, I mean, just outside of what we did in recovery, I started doing some voluntary work. I had an opportunity with an organisation that worked with teenagers from disadvantaged backgrounds, from local kids. Excuse me, and it was basically running, like, on a Wednesday afternoon, running a footy group. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not brilliant at football, but I know, you know, I've been going to watch. It doesn't matter who I watch, but like, I go to footy quite regularly. And growing up in Liverpool, it's kind of in you, that stuff. So it was great. So I'd do a little warm-up session with them, and then we'd have a five-a-side kick around for an hour with them. And the idea, the model he used was like a reflective model. The kind of theory behind it, Cole's learning cycle, it's called. So it's experiential learning, and the idea was to develop their interpersonal skills, if you like, to try and do it somewhere else in their life. So, for an example, kids get tackled, or someone tackles them really hard. They haven't ended up digging the fella who done it on a footy pitch. So how can you do that? You know, you're kicking off at home, you can manage your feelings. Is there a way you can apply that in your house? So it was that I really liked it, and that developed into a job as an outdoor trainee, outdoor instructor, as a personal development tutor with these kids. And we went on like residentials at like the Brecon Beacons, you know, so it's just down the motorway, isn't it? Excuse me. And it was great. It was great, but I had to learn how to climb. I don't like heights. So it wasn't a great job, but it was good, I suppose. They'd seen this like staff member like fucking nearly crying, doing abseiling in the middle of the night. And it was good, you know, my accent, their accent's very different. There was a lot of banter involved. It worked, you know what I mean? And I thought, I've got something about me here that I can work with, like, troubled kids, I suppose, really. And it made me feel good and worthwhile and all that stuff. So I'd done that for 3 years. But I was always longing to come back here. Like, we're from here, you're from here, you know what I'm on about. We're quite proud people. We you know, the damage I'd done to family was in this area. So me moving away, I hadn't really repaired that out. You know, it was repairing me, but I still felt that was a bit of a selfish thing. I was still looking after myself. Anyway, I'd seen this job in a local young person's drug and alcohol agency, and put an application in and got it. You know what I mean? And like, so 3 years, I was 3 years abstinent off everything. Come back to Liverpool with one of our close friends. And started working this place, and it was like, before I come back, I was like, oh my God, what happens if like that 16-year-old in the trackie that I owe 52 from 1992 wants to batter me on the way to work and all that? And it just didn't happen. I just done the same stuff that I was doing in Bristol, and I just done it in Liverpool, the same thing in terms of me addiction, you know what I mean? And I joined the gym, it was Green's gym, it's called Nuffield now, but I've been in there for years. So I got, you know, I'd started slowly exercising again in Bristol, really low level, running around the park, stopping, puking up, fucking crying and all that, because it was killing me. So I knew that was beneficial for me. And then just having to work, just with Radio City on, and like buying the Echo clean, and, you know, seeing a live a bit, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, do you know what I mean?
Things that we take for granted.
Well, I knew people had the trainees up, like I'd look at the floor, like when I was
in shame home. Yeah.
And Liverpool in my mind when I was using was the problem, do you know what I mean? Because it's everywhere in Liverpool. It's everywhere, but like, you know, so it broke that really. You know, my mum and dad started seeing me clean, and you know, working and stuff like that. So it I suppose indirectly it's repairing that type of stuff. And the job was like, it's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, because I was going in schools and doing outreach work with kids and delivering education around drugs and alcohol, working with, you know, kids in units who were...
Could you believe, like, from where you'd come from
No.
to where you was?
No.
Like,
pinch yourself every day, every day.
The change. And how long did you manage to maintain, you know, your recovery in Liverpool?
Years. My life, like it was like being a millionaire without money, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
You know, I was all over the stuff we do to stay clean. My life was improving outside of the place where I stay clean. I was getting kind of recognition in work because I was doing a reasonably good job and engaging with kids that were really, really challenging. You know what I mean? It was just it was a different lifestyle. Like, I lived in Rice Lane, like in my skip. You know, I had a little flat and it was all right, man. Do you know what I mean? I say a little flat. We shared the house. That was a fucking experience as well. But yeah, it was good. It was good. I got a car. I passed my test. I got a passport. I started travelling again. Do you know what I mean? Like,
where did you go? Well, I did get a letter off you.
That was a few years later. No, it wasn't actually. I was in Bristol when I first went to Thailand.
I tell you what, there's nothing worse than being locked up in a prison in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and getting a letter from someone who's sitting in Cambodia on the beach, telling you how great life is.
I know.
I was thinking, why don't he have something negative to say?
Why don't you get sunburn, you little baldy fucker? No, that was amazing. That type of stuff. Like I've been to Cambodia about 7 times, and I'm worked there, like training social workers.
That must have been amazing.
Billy, it was unbelievable. I need to get this in about Cambodia though. I read your first book.
Yeah.
So I was my day off. It was a Sunday, and I was sitting by this fucking pool. And you know, Asia is one hot place, isn't it? Like, it's fucking boiling.
It's phenomenal. The heat, like.
And I was reading this book, thinking, I know this lad's me mate. Fucking hell. And I was thinking, that poor fucker is in a cell with like however many people, and I'm like, I can't even handle eat at the side of the fucking pool. Do you know what I mean? And I've got the ability to like have empathy for others quite like that. It's inspirational, like your story as well. I think even at that time I was thinking, is he ever going to get out? We're ever going to see him again? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've just seen these programs or read books about people who end up there in fucking shackles and never to be seen again. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just resilience, isn't it?
I don't know, like, Billy, in terms of, you know, being in Walton, scared the fucking life out, I think that'd be like the fucking Hilton in comparison to some of the places you must have been in yourself, really. And I suppose, you know, growing through addiction, you do learn resilience, do you know what I mean? And I'd like to think, touch wood, I never end up in that situation, but I've got the mental capacity to kind of, or the strong mind enough to deal with it at that time.
I just think my journey over there in Asia was just kind of one of like one of those Tasmanian devils. I just got myself in loads of trouble wherever I went, you know what I mean? And I couldn't understand why. It was just
do you reckon that it's like fear that drives that though? You know what I
think it was the lack of self-acceptance, the lack of like awareness, and the pride to just admit that, you know, I was at fault, because that was a big one. You know, when I was wrong, she used to put my hands up and go, yeah, I'm sorry. You know, and I'd be a great, I'm a black belt and blaming other people for the way I felt. It was only when I took personal responsibility and owned the situations that I found myself in that I found that acceptance. You know,
it helps. It is quite freeing, that though, isn't it? Yeah. As it was, when you just, the word personal responsibility, it seems so simple to do, but it isn't, is it? You want, we all want to like fight it to the end, when really the easiest thing to do is just like, you know.
There's a statement, and I've, you know, and you've heard this on many occasions, and it's bandied about in the places that we go. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we actually create our own problems, and that was what I couldn't accept any responsibility, so I kept creating problems. You know, and I'm at an age where I'm a grown ass man, you know what I mean? And I find myself in these like volatile situations, these uncomfortable places. It's all self-inflicted. But I think, like, see what we are today, we're quite lucky that we've got that education.
Yeah, definitely.
And early start. We never got that.
No.
You know, I don't think no one ever come and done the things that we do today in our schools or in our homes. You know, we've just left to our own devices.
It's a privilege to do
it is a privilege these days, but it's like it's been, there's loads of opportunities. It's allowing them to happen in your life as well.
The other thing on that, like allowing them to happen, is feeling worthwhile of them as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I've done lots of like esteemable stuff, if you like, in since I've been clean, but I haven't always felt worthy of them. Do you know? Does that make sense, really? And then when people say you're all right, we like you, you're just like, whoa.
You feel like an imposter, right?
Odd.
It's like I remember, and you know this one. I remember writing this book and I shared it with someone, and he started getting really envious and telling me I shouldn't talk about it, right? And I thought I shouldn't. What I should do, I should bury it under the bed and not speak about it ever again. And I felt shame in talking about like my successes and my achievements. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Where you get to a point where you feel guilty for achieving stuff. Now, let's talk about what you've achieved, because you've inspired, you know, a lot of people, and I've seen, you know, your journey, and it's incredible. And that's why I was sitting here today, because I love success stories. You know, it's not just going, oh, we are his hands, he's me, mate, I'm going to get him on. You know what I mean?
No.
You know, you've tell us about, like, you know, because your journey hasn't been straight.
No, it hasn't.
And your injuries and what you've come back from to what you achieved. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah. Fucking hell. 2006, well, I'd just come back to Liverpool from Bristol, joined that gym what I talked about on the Dock Road, and I could always swim as a kid, so I used to like swimming. You know, I find it quite easy, and I'd go swimming before work, and there was these, you meet people in life who influence you, like whether you know them or you don't, do you know what I mean? And like these two lads I was in the middle, you know, they have a slow, middle, fast lane. Yeah. So I'm in the middle lane, like front crawl one, breaststroke, like a granny, back down. But it was sound, I was happy with it. These two lads from Ireland, one from Dublin, one was from the north, what they were smashing lengths up and down. And I didn't, like, I don't like that, people getting envious successes. I'm not fussy on it, you know what I mean? And that inspired me. I suppose it's a similar example. And I got chatting with them anyway. And they were triathletes. And they were like, yeah, just get into, like, Irish people, great, fantastic, like, placed people, really, like, they're very like us, do you know what I mean? I think. Anyway, he was like, get in the lane, you know, like, just stick behind me. I was like, fucking hell, mate. This fella was like an Ironman, do you know what I mean? And he, like, he's never forgot this fella. He lives in Australia now, but I got to know him really, really well. So I found that, and they were doing Salford Triathlon 2006, and that was the first one I did. So I was training for it. I knew nothing about it, nothing at all. Do you know what I mean? Well, I knew about it, and I've always wanted to challenge myself a bit. And I went up with the two of them, and it took me over 3 hours, right? Which is you know, it's not a great time for a standard distance triathlon. Like the Brownies do it in 150 or something. Do you know what I mean? And these fellas were doing it in 240, but it didn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Because when I was training, I was running with two legs. You know, I was in hospital in Fazakerley, nearly losing it. So that really, really internally gave me the drive to keep going. I started swimming, that really improved quickly. And then I got on a bike, and I wasn't that bad at that, really. I'm not a great runner, but cycling and swimming I do reasonably all right with. And that started what I now call me positive addiction, if you like. And I've done I've done 15 to date of them, standard distance. I run the New York Marathon, the first marathon in 2008, and done it for charity, just to keep me going. Took me oldest daughter over, me and her went over. I had a friend over there who looked after her while I was running. That was an unbelievable experience, running through the 5 boroughs in New York. I didn't feel anything tired-wise for 18 miles. There's that many people high-fiving busies and all that. It was fucking great. And I kind of got this helps your mental health, this makes you feel better, this can help me addiction, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, I've been travelling and stuff and all over the world, and then I met Carla, who I'm married to now, around just before the New York Marathon, and I did want her to come, she didn't come. We've got over that one. You know, so life was really, really improving. Like, I fell in love with someone, and that, just to kind of go into what I was talking about before, like, I had this woman who isn't in recovery. I'm an ex-fucking heroin addict. I had Hep C at the time, do you know what I mean? I've cleared that since, but I struggled with that, like, I've got to be honest. Like, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and we've got a lovely little girl now, a lovely home and stuff like that. But in the beginning, it was tough, and I didn't know what to do about it. I was thinking, why, you know, do you know what? And I'd tell her stuff about my past to try and put it off. Like, it's a mad psychological thing to do. Like.
It's called that self-sabotage, you know.
Oh, mate.
You know, we'll try and we'll end it before they do.
Yeah, and I've done a good job of nearly fucking it up, to be honest with you. Like, it was that far away from everything. She was just getting off, do you know what I mean? And it was a tricky time. 8 years, 9 years clean. We'd just been married. We got married in the Maldives, do you know what I mean? And the pictures on the wall that I still get ripped by my mates in the fuzzy group over. Thanks, boys. But it was lovely, do you know what I mean? That was a lovely experience. But I was living with this, like, shit, you know.
Low self-esteem.
Yeah. Like
that's
not
a big,
worthy of these successes type thing, really. I you know, not that I'm like fucking really arrogant about stuff today. It's not. I don't mean that. I just feel like, why wouldn't we deserve nice stuff in our life? Do you know what I mean? We work hard, all of us. You know, people who stay drug and alcohol free for a day are working extremely, extremely hard. Anyway, I was running distance, lots of long distances, and I was getting some injuries in my shins. Shin splints, I mean, it's a fucking common running problem, and the antidote is just don't run for a bit. But fucking brains here, I'll go and see the doctor, right? 9 years, probably 9 years clean. I've got these pains, doctor, this is me, like, you're the doctor.
Yeah.
Terrible pains. He gave me cocodamol, right? And you know, they're a good drug for people in pain. And I'd had nothing at all, nothing.
Nearly a decade.
Yeah, nothing illicit, nothing mood altering, you know. And I took two of them, and I was like, oh, it just, like, you know them, what do you call them, embers, and they just started igniting again. And that's when I look at it now, that's what it was like. And people might think, fuck, two cocaine, what's the matter with you? But I know I like opiates, you know what I mean? And then I was fucking running races, eating fucking DF118, you know what I mean? And going on long runs, like, with 4 DFs, because I wouldn't fucking feel anything. It's fucking mad. Like, I was thinking, oh, I need these for the race. Yeah, I can't keep up.
Justifying everything, justifying your use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that was probably about a year and a half where I was going to a private doctor, blagging me doctor, buying them here, buying them there, do you know what I mean? Justifying it because it wasn't brown and it wasn't white and all that. You know, so I was probably 10 years clean, and I was a mess, do you know what I mean? Really.
And you'd already completed this Ironman competition?
No, I'd come after. Yeah. I'd done the standard stuff. After I got clean again from them, you know, developed a problem with painkillers, and then when I come back from that, if you like, I went back into detox again in a posh rehab, you know, full of stars and all that. Fucking brain dead I was. I come back and I thought, I need fitness in my life. Do you know what I mean? I still do today. I've got, you know, I have to exercise. It's just something part of me. It's really helped me. And these fellas have done Ironman, and I always had in my mind, all them from 2006 up till 2012, that you know, I want to do one of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's pretty fucking tough going. Do you know what I mean? A 2.5 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then 26.2 mile run. When I say run, it's a fucking shuffle. It is with me anyway. And what gave me the drive then was I felt like I'd relapsed after 10 years. I felt ashamed where I was going to get clean. Like, my self-esteem was on the floor again. All that shame was back, all that fear, all that type of stuff. And I thought, this will fix me.
And give you that kudos.
Yeah, like, it made me a man again, do you know what I mean? If I'm honest. It'll make me a man again. And when I get something in my mind, I make it happen, do you know what I mean? Like, I've got that inability, like we talked about resilience before, I've got plenty of, like, you survive in drug use, it's transferable positively. Yeah. And I've done the first one in Mallorca in 2016. My dad passed away 6 months before it. It's a little tale here in this, but I'd done a Chester triathlon, went to see him with the medal, and he died a couple of days later, and it took me fucking sales, to be honest with you. And I wanted to fucking use something, do you know what I mean? I didn't want to necessarily use something illicit, but I wanted to go and see the doctor. That was the subtlety of...
Just to avoid
the
pain.
Yeah. So I just got on my bike and fucking cycled everywhere, do you know what I mean? And I thought, no, I'm going to do this for him, do you know what I mean? And my dad was like, it's a little story about the race really. So the big crowd of us went over, my family and stuff like that. Like, and I loved all that. It's all about me, do you know what I mean? Fucking holiday for the family, but like, look at me, I'm racing and all that. You're up early. The swim is in the sea. It's a fucking amazing place, right on the beach. You run off the beach into the water in a fucking wetsuit, and like, people all like, you know, the pros go first. So you race with professionals and all that. Anyway, I come off the bike. I've been on the bike probably 6.5 hours up this fucking mountain in North Mallorca. Anyway, and as I come into the transition, which is the place where you get changed from the swim, it's like the fourth discipline in triathlon. Like, Brian Adams was playing run, and run to you makes sense because you're going on a run to play in there. But for me, he was mad on Brian Adams.
His dad?
Yeah. It's like, sorry. And it was something special, that, you know what I mean? It really, really was. Like, I just thought, he's still fucking here. I'm goosed, like, fucking weighed in, and now I've got to run a marathon. And it just gave me, that was like that, like, you're getting looked after, you're alright, you know what I mean? And I'd done it in 15.5 hours, and you have 17 hours to complete it. And listen, I was fucking at the end of the pack. I'm not arsed.
No, I mean? Fucking hell, it's incredible just to actually get involved in.
Amazing experience.
I couldn't fucking run to the shop, never mind.
It was
like marathons, lad.
Amazing experience. And then I booked another one a year later.
Yeah.
And that got better because I knocked an hour off.
Brilliant.
This was in Germany, this one, but there's a tale behind this one. Like, this is the biggest, like, amateur, well, Ironman people who qualify want to go to Hawaii. It's Kona, it's called. It's the big kudos race where it started in the 80s. I'd never get there. You've got to kind of be up in the top 5 of your age group, but it's a great sport where people like you and me who do it can get recognition and race in the world championships or whatever. For me, it's just a challenge and get through it. Anyway, this race in Roth in Bavaria, southern Germany, is probably one of the biggest elite people do it, but it's also the most popular for age groupers. So it sells out in a minute. Basically, once it's online, it's gone in a minute. There's 4,000 places, and I got a fucking place. I couldn't believe it. Like, honestly, my mum used to say you'd fall in shit and come up smelling the road as you. And it's happened all. Anyway, so we goes over to Germany, and it does this race, and the fella, he's a fucking legend, this German fella called Jan Frodeno. He's the world champion, world record. He broke the world record on this race. Now, little pie-ass Baldy at the back of the race is like, it's just, it gets dire at the end because all the crowds are fucking gone because they've got to, there's like a stadium at the end of this race.
Like the dregs again.
Oh, Billy, fucking hell. It's like fucking being last on the fucking tube.
Like on being on a Thriller video.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like Carla was there, and these lovely people we met in Germany who were looking after us, friends of my sister's family and stuff. So they're clapping like. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going down the last bit now. It's getting dark, and this German kid comes up to me on a bike and says, "Would you like to carry the torches to finish the race?" And what there's like a kind of tradition there that the winner of the race meets the person who closes the race in this stadium, and it was this world champion. It was fucking me, do you know what I mean? This one, you can finish this 15 hours as the cut off, and I was like 14:40 or something, do you know what I mean? So I was pretty fucking close. So it turned out all right, and then for being slow, so they gave me these 2 torches, lit them, and then I had to run through like this stadium of 15,000 fucking people, like all with sparklers, like it was surreal.
Brilliant, yeah.
You know, and then I got to the end, and the fella put the medal around my neck, and that was my last experience of them, really. Yeah, that was something special as well, really, to be honest. I'd love to do that. I would love to do that again. Love to do just one more, if I'm honest. But you know, I mean, then me and Carla were training and doing marathons. We done Paris Marathon together. We got engaged there. That was a lovely experience around exercise, even though she fucking beat me by 40 minutes. Didn't like that.
But isn't it like incredible, like your story and how your journey's evolved from being homeless, almost begging on the streets, to become an Ironman Triathlete, fucking competitor, finishing the, you know, that's just incredible. And what is it? So, what is it you do with yourself today?
Well, I went to university in 2008 as well.
Yeah.
And studied social work. My mum was a social worker and a foster carer, so I've kind of grown up in that. I was probably banned from the house, to be honest, at that time because of what I was choosing to do with my life. My wife's a social worker, and my daughter done that type of stuff in uni. Anyway, I went to uni in Salford, ironically, where I'd done the triathlon, and graduated in 2012. 2012 was a big year though as well, for a number of reasons. I graduated as a social worker, and I got nominated to carry the Olympic torch as well in 2012.
Wow, that's another big experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, carrying the Olympic torch through a senior. I was there. I was sharing your honour, remember that? By the Bombs Out Church.
Yeah.
That's where I seen it.
Yeah. That was quite, like, you know, a nice moment as well, really. But yeah, I graduated there, and I'd worked in. I went from young people's drug services and worked in addiction services for a few years and managed rehabs, a set of rehab up in Bristol, and we worked together. You remember the organisation? You were in one of the kind of.
Yeah, there was a while back where I kind of had that kind of employment where I worked in that field, and it was. I fucking wouldn't go down that road again.
I mean, I because I'd done what I'd done with the tablets, I had to get out of it. Like I was getting paid a lot of money, and I was like area manager for the northwest area, and you know it was good.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
It was linked into the stuff I was talking about, not worthy of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I thought, and the other side of it is, I was, if I'm honest, sick of listening to excuses about addiction. If I'm honest with you, it was really, and
that's important, because we do come like we are our biggest excuse. You know, I'm great at, like, when I'm in it, I'm in the grip. You know, I'll use any excuse. You know, just to justify carrying on. You know, and the lies and the manipulation and the deceit. You know, it's quite clear to everyone else but yourself. You know, and especially when you've been there and experienced it, you become that person who's on the receiving end of yourself.
Yeah, and,
you know,
and I don't. It's not, you're giving someone this service, if you like, sitting in front of you, getting a cob on with them, because why wouldn't they give you an excuse if they're locked in addiction? Do you know what I mean? So there was 2 reasons for leaving that arena. One, I'd fucked up on the tablets. And 2, me empathy, I suppose. It hadn't gone, but it was wearing thin a little bit.
Yeah, we get it.
And I used to think, what about your kids? Like, if you're not considered your children in all of this. And I was selfish. I've got an older child that probably missed out on stuff she shouldn't have done because of her dad's choice of behaviour. Yeah. And I thought, when I was in uni, I was like, you do loads of like case study work and things like that. And there was the big series case. Colombier was a young French kid, was murdered by family members, and she had a social worker, etc. So the series case reviews, and it interested me a little bit to think, I wonder if I could do that type of stuff, really. And I was coming up against barriers all the time, trying to, you know, with interviews, I mean, I wasn't getting them. I didn't do you have to do placements and stuff like that in local authorities within child protection. If you hadn't done that, you're going to struggle around processes and procedures, whatever. So I was lucky really. Someone offered me a job managing like a kids home, you know what I mean, semi-independent 16 to 18 year olds, and I managed that for about 2 years, and then the same organisation gave me a chance with a one-to-one EBD, like emotional behavioural development, you know, kids challenging behaviours basically, who needed one-to-one support, kids in the care system. And I've done that for a year, which really set me up really in terms of being in meetings, understanding processes and all that type of stuff. And then I was lucky enough to be given a job locally around here, working with kids on the cusp of gang activity, and as a social worker, it was a funded project, and it was trying to kind of build relationships with really hard to reach kids who were getting criminally exploited. So that was a great job as well. And then I've done frontline child protection now for probably 6 years. I reckon. And
that's what you're currently doing now?
Yeah.
So that's it, so social work?
Social work, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you feel like do you feel that you've got to that point where do you feel weird, you know, do you get to that stage in your life that you go, yeah, I'm alright, I'm okay, I'm just enough?
The past year I have. I mean, I got sick in 2017 after that Germany race, and ended up in the Royal with a viral infection for 6 weeks. So I was extremely fit at that time, like really at the top of the game I could get to. And I ended up in the Royal, getting out of that, going the bog, couldn't shower, I had to sit down having a shower, and I've got really frightened, you know what I mean? And I know it was me colon that was swollen and infected, and it damaged my sciatic nerve in my leg, and it was painful, do you know what I mean? And fucking mad, like, I was like, I can't take codeine. That's what I said to the doctor, I can't take codeine. So they gave me tramadol, and in my mind...
Did he tell you that it was a synthetic opiate and that you'd be fine?
Yeah, they told me all of that, but listen, I fucking said, do you know what I said? I don't like it.
Fucking better than codeine, I think, sometimes.
Well, yeah, and you know, and to be honest, I was in a wheelchair for probably, I mean, we were doing the Barcelona marathon together, and I went over, obviously, because Carla still was doing it, and I was in a wheelchair, like, pushed through the airport, on the race and stuff like that, because I couldn't...
And this is in 2017?
2017, yeah.
Wow, so you've gone through all that, to sitting in a wheelchair, getting carted about
full of fucking
Barcelona.
Full of fucking tablets again.
Full of tablets again. Back in the grip.
Yeah, I don't struggle with it now. It's happened, and I've put them down a year ago and stuff, and you know, I feel great again, but like, I don't know what I was supposed to do at that time. Like, it was a genuine medical problem. Yeah,
you're not a martyr, are you?
No, I'm not, like, you know.
It's, I kind of experienced this, and I told you about it over a few years. When I was given medication, you know, when I was told it was prescribed, and it was every 4 hours, turned into every 2 hours, and every 2 hours turned into, I'll take 4 every hour, I'll take 6. And then if I don't take more than 10, it's not a relapse, you know, all that, justifying it, minimalising all that, and in the end you go, fuck it, I'll take the whole packet.
Yeah, just take the bottle.
And then it becomes like a secret, because you don't want to share it with any. So
it's bananas.
It's fucking bananas, mate, and that's what addiction does to people.
I call that now Andy's addict dyslexia. So the bottle that says 1 or 2 every 6 hours turns a bit foggy and says take 30 every hour, a cup of tea. But yeah, I mean, it happened. I put loads of weight on, it balloons out, 4 stone I put on. And then I had to have time off work to come off it. And you know, one of our close friends sadly was found dead. Do you know what I mean?
And that's another consequence of like addiction. And we've buried together this year, you know, a few friends. Yeah. It was last year.
And good people as
well. Good people, you know, really. You went before the time.
I couldn't agree more. Like, you know, such a waste, like such a waste.
Really close friends.
They really impacted me. One of them, though, really hit me. Like,
yeah, I don't know. And it was the same guy, like Lee.
Yeah,
you know,
Lee,
a good friend of ours. Lee.
Never forget him.
I'll never forget him, mate. And he, you know, he's done a lot of good for people.
Like, I remember at his funeral, like what the the priest was sharing about, like, we didn't know half of that stuff, did we? And it was amazing what he
it was
done,
like, this is like someone who does something without, like, sharing it with anyone else. All good things, really.
Exactly.
Like, saving people's lives.
Yeah, like,
I never knew nothing about that.
No, I was like, I looked at
I was like, well, you never mentioned that, so we didn't do it for as out of like
humility, isn't it?
Yeah, throws a bunch of bouquets there, and I've just done this. That lad said nothing, and it was just amazing, the kindness that he gave, and to me as well, you know. And this is sadly what happens, you know, for people who struggle with that mental way of living.
I miss him a lot.
I do.
And I'm grateful, because not because he passed away, but I'm grateful that he's given me something back still. And
this podcast is in, you know, in memory of Lee. It is, like, you know, I like the, you know, I do miss him myself. He's been there when I've needed him, and vice versa, you know, and it is. But anyway, let's move on. You know, let's say. So, what's your day today like? Now.
Well, like, luckily I've had a lot of experience about being clean.
Do
you know what I mean? So that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Once your mind kicks in and think, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
You know, you get back on what you're doing, and I get up and I just live day to day. Like, I get up in the morning quite early. I sit in this room where we're talking. I've got a little beanbag. I use Headspace out for 10 minutes. A little bit of meditation.
And that sets you up?
Yeah, it does. And then I go and I exercise in my little gym that I showed you before next to it. You know, I've used Big Hitters apps and a Liverpool Big Hitters app. Thanks, Derry. It's great stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm involved in a footy group with one of our close friends, Colin. He's the manager, and he got me involved with a load of lads from the North End. You know what I mean? And I was shit at footy, but I'm the assistant manager, and I think they like me, so it's fucking great, Billy. Do you know what I mean? And I love being part of the club. You know, work's a different place because of the meditation. I've just literally been offered a new post to train go back to uni and train as a kind of mental health social worker.
So you marginalised, you fall in shit and come out smelling of roses.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, the fucking roses smells coming back. But just one thing I'm involved in at the moment that you don't mind me talking about is, we've got, like, I was invited into this initiative that these lads had started for a local rehab, veterans rehab. There's 2 lads who work there. There's 2 lads who live in the supported accommodation. One lad's been through the rehab, ex-veteran. One of the other ones who's got the job as myself, Derry, Matthews, the boxers with us, and another lad who's been in the supported living project that they have a few years back, and we're doing triathlon. That's the challenge.
Brilliant. I've seen all your posts on it.
Bill, honestly,
you know, some of the changes that the transformation.
Unbelievable.
It is, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And that's inspiring.
Yeah, it is.
And I've seen, you know, and I've got to say this, I've seen your pictures, and I've seen you physically anyway. You know, you were massive.
Yeah. Well,
you know, look at you now. You've kind of trimmed up. You know, you've inspired others to get out and run, and you're encouraging.
I think
people at the same time.
I think with, like, particularly this project I'm involved in, it's like when you find a way of being clean, you tell other people about it, because it energizes, it keeps it fresh. It's exactly the same. Do you know what I mean?
Passion. When you've got passion, when, like, it's like, you know, you want to give what you've got to other people.
Yeah, but like,
freely,
bottle how you feel and all that. It's like, have a swig of that. Do you know what I mean?
But like, it's like I've always said, it's like we're all on a bus, someone's driving it, but we're all in different seats.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, some are at the back, some at the front, some are just getting on. Some don't even want to let the bus go past. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our podcast, and it's I've really enjoyed it. I always say this at the end of every interview. What would you, any pearls of wisdom, anything you'd say to a younger version of you coming through life now? What would you say? What advice or guidance would you offer someone? Just a pearl of wisdom. Come on.
I use it all the time. Try and be yourself. That's it. Like, for teenagers, just try and be yourself. Don't try and be what you think other people want you to be. Full stop. Brilliant.
Well, I'll put all your socials on the end of this podcast, and people who want to get in touch with Andy and ask any questions, then they can.
Thanks.
And with that, thanks, mate.
Good luck.
Good. Leave there.